Hey folks, welcome back to the shop. Week number 2 on these end tables that I'm working on. Side tables, end tables, table, whatever you want to call them. And you guys still don't have a clue what my design is. So let's take a second and go take a look at that right now. So this is the table in question. It's been in the house for as long as I can remember. And I'll apologize ahead of time because I didn't bring a tripod in. I'm just holding the camera. Pay no attention to that guy. He's just hanging out, living his best life. Anyway, this is the table. And this is the joinery that I was talking about. Where do I want to go? We'll go this way. The shelves are cut in to the legs, all 4 of them. And that always just fascinated me how simple it was. Now you can see over time that they've got a little bit wonky, or this is just a mass production thing and they just slammed it together. You can't see that one, but this shelf's about a 1/4 inch. I made mine to be about a 1/2 inch, and this is the top. My wife does not like the fact that this sticks up. She doesn't like the scallops. She just wants a flat tabletop. Okay, and so that's why I'm going to go with a traditional table skirt as opposed to this. The other interesting thing I just found out about this is not only is the top also set into the legs, the skirt, from what I can tell, or the sides, I'm guessing they have to be mortised and tendoned in. But if you flip it upside down, this top shelf is actually rabbited or dadoed into the skirts, which I never paid attention to that before. You can kind of see evidence of it a little bit right there. But basically they cut a dado and they set this shelf into the sides, which is really cool. As I said, I love this table. I'm pretty sure this table was in my mother's house. So that's the stuff that I like about it, is the joinery. The things my wife doesn't like about it, and things I'm going to change, is the sides coming up higher than the actual top of the table, and of course the overall size. That's a problem. So that's what we're building, and that's what I dare to say, improving upon. See you later, Nomi. Okay, so the shelves are in the legs, some design differences that are going to take place. Mostly the wife's fault. So what I have to do is figure out how I'm going to inset the shelves into the legs. Like, I mean, I know what I have to do, but how am I going to do it is the question. Basically, the legs are going to be, if you think of a diamond, right? It's going to be cut into the tip of the diamond, and then the shelf goes in there. The top shelf is going to remain square. The other 2 shelves are going to have some kind of a design, or I don't know. So I was thinking about this, and I have to tell you, I have been out in the shop for 3 days, getting absolutely nothing accomplished except getting the parts to a point where everything's ready. We can just assemble this week. And even at that, I'm still up against it a little bit. This is Saturday at 2:30. Golly. So I didn't know how I was going to cut a dado with, because it's got to be up on edge, right? And that's not going to work. So, they say when in doubt, make a jig. So here's the jig I made. I took a 2x4, got a 45. So it's 45 on each side. Let me get all this out of the way. And then this is just going to rest in that 45. And that'll keep it from moving around and getting squirrely. And then I can cut my dados in here where they are supposed to go. So that's what I don't have a whole lot of guidance. Um, this is going to have a top and two shelves. If I'm not mistaken, the one in the house has a top and a bottom, or a top and a middle, or whatever. The only thing I know for sure is one's going on the top, one is going 2 inches up from the bottom. Now, the one at the top, because of the joinery, I want to leave a 1/4 inch of space between the top of the leg and where the dado starts. So that much I know. And then 2 inches up from the bottom, that much I know. And then the middle shelf's just going to go somewhere in between. So what I'm going to do is mark these, at least where those two shelves are going to be. And then what I have to do is figure out what saw am I going to use. Should I do it on the table saw? Should I do it on the miter saw? I'm more comfortable on the miter saw. We'll just have to see, I guess. I squared these up to the board. So if I put this up against a fence, it should be straight. If I put this up against that, it should be straight. And I should have no problem. So let me figure that out. Let me get these marked, and then we'll start cutting the dados in them. I have 2 sets of shelves that are 0.513. They're like within 1,000th of a 1/2 inch. And by golly, in this shop, that's good enough. Okay, so what I've done is this is to the fence. I went ahead and clamped it, so that's not going to move. Now this sets in there, and I set the depth stop to this line, which you can't see. But what I'm finding with this saw is that anytime you have material elevated, it really maxes out your depth stop, which also has a little, oh, that's fine. Yeah, it's still where it needs to be. So now, basically all I have to do is cut this out until I have a shelf that fits in it. And then we go from there. I'm going to cut the 2-inch one first, and then it doesn't really matter what order I do them in, but that's just how I'm going to do it. Okay, so that actually went pretty good. Now, the downside is I tested them all on one shelf, but these shelves, like I said, are within 1,000th of each other. So if I need to come in and do like a 1/4 blade or something like that, a 1/2 blade or whatever, I can do that and still make it work just fine. Now, part of me wants to clean up the inside of this. Because of course that's a multi-purpose blade, so the teeth are wibbly wobbly. Hang on, if I don't turn this light off now, I'll forget. Okay, but then that becomes subjective, right? Like, how much am I taking off of this one and not that one? So I think I'm just going to let it go and let glue do the rest, unless there's some really bad spots, which I don't see. I think it'll be fine. Like I said, we'll let glue take care of the rest of it. Now, these shelves are going to have to, come on now, they're going to have to be 45 to fit in to this slot, right? Because these are going to be, I don't know how to explain it. You saw the Proto. It's not going to necessarily fit like that. So these are going to have a 45 so that they'll fit into the slot in its entirety. And so what I'm going to do is measure, here. I'm going to measure from this point to this point, and that way I'll know how much I have to notch the shelves to get. I have a splinter. Anyway, I'll have to notch the shelves to get them to fit in there correctly. Like I said, the top shelf is staying as is. It's going to be a rectangle. The bottom shelves are going to be somehow decorative. I don't know what that's going to look like yet. So, a splinter. So let me figure this part out, and then we'll be able to put at least, well, I can go ahead and notch all of the shelves because that part's going to be the same. Okay, here's the thing. I don't have plans for this. I'm building it on the fly, which is why probably it's taking so long. No, it's taking so long because I had to mill up so much lumber. But again, I love it out in the shop. Except for milling lumber. That just sucks. Okay, let me figure this out and I'll show you what I got. Okay, so corners are cut. I used my square with that little doodad there, which is a 45. And if you're gonna do that, at least on my square, it does not start at 1 inch. Okay, it starts at an 1/8 inch. So you need to take that into account. My dados are 1 5/8, I think it was. So I just slid this up until I was at 1 3/4, because remember, I'm starting at an 1/8, not a 0. Okay, and so once I had that set up, I put a stop block in, so all of my cuts are repeatable, and I'm finding out that that's what it's all about, repeatability of cuts. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the rest of these up. Then we can talk about designs and pretty things and roundovers and stuff like that. So let me get this finished cut, and then we'll look at all that fun stuff. Because the one thing I don't know yet is how long my stringers have to be. Because I just, in my head, couldn't figure it out. So what I'll do is I'll dry fit this, and then I will measure my stringers as to where I think they're going to need to be. I can put 2 shelves in and get this stable enough to do that. Okay, so together, oddly enough, not all of my 45s are equal. Well, here's the problem. I found out that one of my shelves was a blade narrower than all the rest, so I had to recut the ones that already had 45, and I think that's where I got messed up. I can work with it. If nothing else, I can put it on the bottom shelf and sort of cut up to it. But here's what I learned. This glue up is going to be an absolute nightmare. I don't have any idea how I'm going to keep this thing straight, square, or anything. But I have it to a point where I can measure my measure for my skirt, which is, you know, under this piece into the legs. So I need to measure that. And I think then I can put it on, and then I have to mark for where my middle shelf is going to be and get that cut, and then we're ready to finish sand and glue, I think. No idea. I can tell you these metal clamps, these metal band clamps are awesome. In many ways, they're better than the strap clamps, except that they're heavy and awkward and cantankerous and angry. So, I need to get a couple more regular strap clamps. All right, we got wobbles. So that looks like 21 and 11/16. So I'm going to write that down. I have no idea. Okay. Let me tell you, this project has been testing me. I'd like to tell you that I'm all set to put the aprons on, but I'm not, because I found some problems with the shelves and the 45s, and the measurements were off. And so I've been kind of messing with that for about the past hour and a half. But I'm ready to figure out how I'm going to attach the apron to the legs. And I'm going to go, you know, when in doubt, begin controversy. I'm going to use a biscuit joiner. I was going to use dowels, but for one thing, I don't have any. And the dowel is self-centering, so it's not going to put the dowel actually where I want it. Whereas I can set the height on this and it should work just fine. And I have it. I spent money on it and I haven't used it since like 2023. So I'm going to get these cut and then I'm going to shut it down for tonight because, you know, it's Valentine's Day and I've been out in the shop all day and now it's getting dusk. So yeah, we'll just go ahead and cut these real quick. I went ahead and drew a line on this one. Hopefully it's right. We're going to find out right now. I don't remember how to use this thing. It's also really easy. Seems like it might be a little bit higher than what I wanted it, but let's put one in here and then that should tell us. I don't really have a good way to clamp this on this one. I also need to know where my halfway point is. Should tell me on here. No idea if this is going to work. If it doesn't, we have to do something different for the video. Keep it flat. Oh boy. Oh, it just fits. If this board was any wider, I'd be in trouble. I set that to use a number 20 biscuit. I don't know what that means, except that that goes in there. And that goes on there. And I think it's going to be okay. All right. Okay, now that I know it's going to work, I'm going to go ahead and cut all these real quick, and then I'm going to go in and have dinner with the missus. Okay, new day. But I got a problem. I got a problem. And I'm not going to have time to get it fixed before the video comes out. I mentioned that the 45s on my shelves, I did not measure them. I thought I was measuring them right, but I wasn't. I was off. In some cases by an 1/8 inch, some cases a little bit less. And while I am all about not letting greatness stand in the way of good enough, this isn't even good enough. It's going to throw a lot of things off. Mostly what it's going to throw off is my table skirt. So I'm going to have to cut these down so that my 45s are the correct size. And that way the table skirt will match and everything's based on that. Okay. Unfortunately, this is Monday. I don't have time to do this and get the thing finished. Obviously, I'm still sitting in pieces. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to push this to a part 3. I am sorry. I really want, not as much as my wife, but I really wanted to get these done and get them in the house. But I think where we're at now, once I get these cut and finished and everything, I think I have 2, maybe 3 evenings next week that I can work on this. And that should be enough, at least to finish one so I can finish the video. But next week, I'll have these cut down. We'll start actually getting at least one of them put together, probably both of them, and we'll get this thing finished up. I apologize that it's taken multiple videos to get through this, but I mean, that's the life of me. This isn't my primary job. I have a career away from this that takes my time. So thanks for hanging out. I do appreciate you guys coming back and watching. I'll see you on the next one. God bless.